we felt like Google had backed us into a corner, and there was nothing else to do but to speak up and share with the industry what was going on.
All right, gang, in this episode of the Dealer Playbook Podcast, I'm sitting down with the founder and CEO of Reunion Marketing, Dave Spannhake. We're going to be talking about what the heck do you do when Google backs you into a corner. Stay tuned. All right, Dave, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always great to see you and catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. And at time of recording, we're just a few weeks out from NADA. Hopefully we get to shake hands. Who knows? Maybe we embrace a little bit while we're there.
Yeah, I think it's likely.
First of all, I want to just say congratulations. I mean, you have led Reunion Marketing and the teams there to some tremendous levels of success. And I think I want to highlight that and congratulate you on that, especially on the heels of what we're going to discuss and what I want to talk to you about in this episode. What has the journey been like since founding Reunion to where you guys are today?
It's been really exciting. I mean, honestly, I feel like myself and then, the other folks on the team feels like we're living the American dream. It's a lot of folks, they ask, why is it Reunion? And, before Reunion started, I worked as the marketing director for the Leith Automotive group. They've been in the news recently. Holman just bought them. So it's exciting to see what's going to happen to all of our friends over there. And we wish them the best. But the last 3 years that I spent there as marketing director, hired some really great folks. It's a tremendous team. We increased the leads to that group by 400%. And then during the same time, the revenue of that group, 33 stores, increased by 75%. So we said, wow. We got something special. We left, we reunited, which is why it's Reunion. Started it from scratch, retirement funds kind of deal. I mean, no outside investment with 0 clients and just a dream. And now we're working with about 400 dealers across the country and powering a lot of other companies. And it's been just it's been some of the most fun you could have in your life, really. So
it's amazing. It's amazing too. I mean, so kind of segueing into what I'm just been so anxious why I invited you to come on the show today to talk about. You guys, where is it here? If you see me looking away, I'm looking at my computer screen here. I've got your LinkedIn up in front of me. And I saw, I can't remember the number. We'll have to fact check this in the show notes, but it's like hundreds of millions of dollars in ad spend that you've run for your clients.
Yeah, I think the number we put on there is 60 million. This is in ad spend. Yep.
That's 60 million in ad spend. And the reason I think that's important to underscore here is the breadth of experience now that you've had in ad platforms, running successful campaigns for your customers. Something caught my attention as I was scrolling through your LinkedIn. This is going back about 2 months. And I see this open letter to Google calling them out for things that I know we've experienced on our end that I'm sure other agency owners have experienced on their end. And despite all of this money that's been spent in that platform, you stand up and say, hey, you've backed us into a corner and we're not going to stand for it. What's the lead up to the writing of this letter to Google?
Well, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, we felt like Google had backed us into a corner and there was nothing else to do but to speak up and share with the industry what was going on. And I think a lot of people know that over the last few years that Google has cut a lot of their staff, and we felt that the most on the support side. And it's a little bit of a bummer because we always enjoyed a really great relationship with Google. We used to have a team of folks over there that we could rely on to help us out through our growth and servicing our clients and working on betas and all sorts of exciting things. And Google has drastically cut and changed the model in which that they work with agencies and companies. And I know that you know that too, right? It's frustrating because, we used to always have those people that would help us out with things. And so that all happened at the beginning of this year, where they cut, and started outsourcing their support. And so now they use an outside company so a lot of dealers will get calls from Google, but it's really not calls from Google. It's calls from this outside third-party company, and everyone's different. So even for like some of our large dealer group partners, there'll be multiple reps from this external company for different stores within that group. And so it's just become really hard to communicate and get things resolved and solved. And this all happened at the same time as they started a new verification process, which is the third one in the last few years. And we've all been through the Google Business Profile ones. We have the agency verification that we all went through. And then now individual accounts were getting triggered to prove that they are legitimate accounts. And you can understand, I think, a lot of those because of the privacy policy legislation and just a lot of concerns that come with litigation in that environment that exists out there. But with this, instead of having any kind of grace period, if you don't get this resolved, they turn you off of spending.
Right.
And so they started this process at the same time that they dropped their support. So, you have a month to get it all resolved. And so we would, be all over that from day one, getting all of our, the paperwork that prove that all of our dealers are legitimate businesses, which they already have been proven through Google Business Profile, which is kind of the funny thing that you're going through it again, even with that mapped out and synced up with Google Ads. But the problem is they didn't have the support team to handle the number of BOBs that they were, the business verifications that they were sending out. And so we would have dealers that would just go pause, even with the correct information, with the business licenses, with invoices, with all these different things that prove that. They would go just pause, and they would no longer be able to participate in that marketplace.
Right.
Which is ultimately, after a couple of our stores went for weeks or even a couple months without being able to get back on. And that's when we said enough is enough. We got to share what's going on here.
I chuckle, but I think it's to keep back the tears, because I mean, we experience a lot of these same things that you're talking about, but I'm just impressed that you stood up and because this is courageous. I mean, was there a bit of you in writing this letter that thought, well, they could just now squash us and just be like, nah, you're not running ads on our platform anymore?
Yeah. It's certainly that came across, my thinking, but honestly, I mean, I think right now, I think that would have been a terrible thing for them to do. Right now, I mean, even with our Congress, they're in antitrust discussions, and they put us in a position where, us being us and our dealership partners, where we weren't able to participate in the marketplace that they have, arguably a monopoly over. So if they were to say, well, you're sharing exactly what's going on in a marketplace that's crucially, critically important for our dealers to be on, because that is where a lot of the shopping gets done, especially at that, to coin an old phrase that they had, that zero moment of truth, right? The decision point, that to not be able to participate in that goes exactly in favor of, why they're having those discussions and why that anti-monopoly viewpoints being brought up. Right. So I think, the one part of that open letter that I think really was the most pointed, and actually, I got the most feedback was, you can't, own a marketplace and decide who, can and can't, be in that marketplace. I mean, that's really the crux of the matter. So after thinking through it, we talked about it as a team at reunion. Anytime we're going to be loud about something, that's a decision that we come up with together and make sure that we all are aligned, at the leadership level. We said, this is too important for our clients, and we need to show our clients that, what we're doing is on their behalf, and we're going to be loud on their behalf. And it was great to, hear people, hear you and hear a lot of other companies out there support that and share similar stories. And it really created a great automotive community opportunity for all of us to be loud advocates together on behalf of our industry,
yeah, I mean, I read it, and at first I was like, yeah. And then I was like, just get the slow claps all. Hey, before we hop back into this episode of the Dealer Playbook, we got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, AutoFi. AutoFi helps progressive dealers like you sell smarter, not harder, on your dealership website and now in your showroom too. AutoFi solves the everyday problems dealers actually face, like bottlenecks at the sales desk, customer distrust, and decision overload. And their all-new showroom solution includes deal estimation, desking, lender routing, and an F&I menu, all in one powerful platform that bridges the gap between the CRM and DMS. Dealerships with AutoFi can manage the floor more efficiently, fast-track the yes, and make better lending decisions, enabling them to sell cars faster with higher satisfaction and more profit. In fact, deals with AutoFi take an average of 28 minutes from customer check-in to loan approval, and dealers are making $411 more back-end PVR per deal. Go to autofi.com/dealer playbook to learn more. That's autofi.com/dealer playbook and start selling smarter today. All right, let's hop back into this episode. What cracks me up, especially as just thinking about the business landscape, we are so quick at times to think negatively about companies in our automotive industry and say, oh, well, you should be better at this and you should be better at that, blah, 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 blah. And here we have $1 trillion company who hasn't figured things out yet. I would just love if we connected the dots and be like, wait, if $1 trillion company hasn't figured their stuff out yet, maybe I should be a little bit more grace-filled towards some of the companies in our arena.
Yeah, it is one of those things that's so surprising because, Google had always had that mantra, don't be evil, and honestly, they had such a good reputation as being, when they said things, it was gospel for dealers, for advertisers for a long time. And, I think the unfortunate thing about the decisions they made recently by cutting their support team and not being the same, level of true partners with the folks that are out there using their platform, and they're automating a whole lot more stuff and taking control away from the advertisers. Yeah. They've lost a whole lot of that trust. And I think what they might be thinking is, because they're the marketplace, that, people are just going to have to go spend money there. And there still are options out there that exist. I'm a huge fan of Google. A huge fan. I understand the importance of it, but when you create environments like this and you lose trust, it's really hard to regain that trust. And I think that they maybe have not thought through the ramifications of their decision to cut support to this volume and go more automation, because people still like doing business with people and working with people, and trust is one of the most important things in business. And I think some of the things they're doing right now are going to have lasting repercussions negatively. And unfortunately, because like I said, I'm a huge fan of Google, and I love the support they've given for years. It's just very unfortunate to what's happening to the companies and dealerships in our industry as a result of it.
Something you said earlier that kind of I want to go back to and emphasize. You brought up, okay, so we get flagged. They say we've got 30 days to do this verification, but and see, there's a thumbs up from my camera. It believes that we're about to make a good point here. But I kind of want to underscore the fact that as an agency, in this agency model, that there is a great amount of work and time that goes into managing these platforms. It's not what I think a lot of people still think. It's like, yeah, placed an order with Reunion or Flex or whoever it might be, and they just log into Google and then that's the end of it, and they run the ads and they never have to pay attention. It takes a tremendous amount of work. Bring me into when this is spanning across multiple, perhaps dozens of clients, how much work actually has to go into that verification process?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a tremendous amount of work, and it's a lot of waiting game too. But you need, well, I think that's true for all the things on Google. There's a lot of things that Google's trying to do to create an automated environment that people, I guess they might want people to set it and forget it, because when that happens, the money does not go as far, and you spend more money. And, just like the business verification process, which, is, it takes time. Fortunately, as I think as a result of this open letter, we're starting to get, we're getting streamlined through some of that. And I don't know if that's just coincidence or just happened to happen right after we got a little bit louder, but either way, we're appreciative of it. So, but it takes a lot of work there, but it takes a lot of work for running a great search campaign, or creating some of the external environments to help power some of these things that have become automated, like some of the BLAs and different things that you can do as much within the platform, because, and I think this is one of the unfortunate things, because you used to have so much more control over how your campaigns are built. And, I wonder out loud, why are they taking this control away? At the same time that, you have a cookieless environment and their audiences are not nearly as strong as they used to be, but they're leaning more on their audiences to automate some of their, bidding methodologies.
Right.
It ends up, almost every one of the updates or the recommendations is spend more money and spend more money and spend more money. And that's what an automated environment does. A set it and forget it environment does, and I would never just say, hey, Time Warner Cable or Spectrum now, or Charter or whoever, hey, here's my money, go spend it wherever you want to spend it, without having a little bit more control over that. And I think that's one of the things that maybe they're expecting people to just let them just do their thing. And you still want to have a more manual look at it. And then I think this new automated environment and their less support environment only benefits, I think, themselves and then the larger maybe entities that don't have the same kind of manual approach and the great results focused methodologies like Flex has or that Reunion has or companies like that really focus on return, on ad spend and, and creating attribution that isn't beneficial for a dealership. So I think long-winded way of saying there's a lot of work that goes into all the things at Google and this new automated environment, which just doesn't make the same kind of sense as the privacy first legislation continues to build, and they're actually losing a lot of their targeting abilities that they had in the past.
Interesting. Yep. You bring up something too I want to kind of get your thoughts on here, which is, especially I'm bracing for it. Like, buckle up, folks. We're headed into the AI NADA here in a couple of weeks at time of recording. And I'm not knocking. I'm as big a nerd as anybody else. Okay. I make my coloring pages in ChatGPT too. Okay. Do you think, though, to your point about things becoming more automated, more advanced, do you think, especially when you look at, say, Google's Gemini project or Bard or, some of the machine learning that goes into ad platforms and search, do you think we actually get to a place where we're so advanced it becomes irresponsible?
It's a wild environment. We use AI as part of our content creation process. We've got, humans editing things too. And I think that, there's still a long way to go in trusting it to always deliver. We were just looking at a beta yesterday for some of the additional things they've added for Performance Max. And, they're streamlining the process for headline creation and a lot of different body copy things. And this is for a local company here in Raleigh. And then, within that copy, they're talking about Chicago and other cities. And so there's still a lot of things that are going wrong and haywire with some of that creation and SGE, and the Bard integration. If you look at a lot of searches and the results that come with that, it feels a lot like the pre-Venice environment where they were not as focused on local companies. And so there's a lot more national company data, which is not necessarily as beneficial for in-market consumers. They might want to be able to communicate directly with a dealership or directly with a local business because it's just not quite to where it's speaking on that local level yet, or local level yet. I don't know if I said that wrong or not. It's a tongue twister, but it's going to continue to advance. We've done a lot of research into the SGE results, and it really is like taking a step back to where Google was before. They created a lot of local SEO innovations that created better search environments. Right. It's not there yet for shopping. But all that being said, I think it's our responsibility as a society to closely watch what's going on and remember that, we are supporting humans, and, you can read all sorts of different articles, whether it's Elon Musk or the Pope or whoever, all sorts of people are talking about, some of the concerns that are out there. And I think it's worth discussing largely as a community.
Yeah. And you used a word that I love. It's something that is so important to me. You said the word trust in relation to, I don't know if it's quite there that we can trust it. And I find I'm fascinated. Maybe this is too nerdy, but I'm fascinated by this concept of applying a human emotion that we all know we care about to a robot that doesn't have any emotion. And tying that to the responsibility that we have as human beings to almost safeguard, not almost, but to safeguard the things that we hold dear that actually advance us forward, and understanding that we use, to your point about using it to help with content generation or creation or ideas, that it can become this tool that alleviates our brain power from having to focus on something that it shouldn't have had to focus on to begin with.
Yeah, it's really funny because I mind my P's and Q's when I'm using ChatGPT. I find myself saying please and thank you. And then, and then the response is often "you're welcome," and I'm like, "What am I doing?" But that's the experience that there is. I mean, I'm a polite individual, but it's funny because I'm like, "Why on earth am I saying please to this computer?" But it's also, I mean, like that is kind of the relationship that we're beginning to have with AI, which is pretty incredible, and what it can do for you. I think anyone who's not using it is missing out on a huge opportunity. There's still, I think we have adopted that largely as an industry, but there still are a large enough segment of the industry that just refuses to use it. And we have, even though a few customers that don't want to use it yet, and I think that's okay. Comfort level is there, or needs to be there, to use it. But I mean, it's here to stay, and so there's no turning back. I mean, the opportunity.
Yeah, I was going to say there's no turning back from here.
No.
I noticed on your post, and I was just looking for it here a second ago, that you tagged, I believe it's your congresswoman. Was there any ever response back?
Unfortunately not. No, we reached out to their offices too. We reached out to their offices and sent those posts. And, the timing of that was right during the initial conversations there. So we were hoping to get a little bit more response from them. I'll say that, our response from seeing things get fixed faster was fast enough that we didn't continue to pursue that after. We just wanted people to be aware of the situation. I mean, more than anything, I think it's, I think a lot of folks do not realize just how different it is now. Let alone the whole automated environment that they're pushing, but just the lack of support and, the feeling of just complete apathy. What's really sad is there are a couple of people that were there that, I had some industry friends, who I'm not going to show the names just to, for their sake, but that reached out to some higher ups at Google too, companies that spend, 3 or 4 times what we spend. And we about how much we invest in Google that still have some level of relationship. And then their response was just, why are you even trying to help them out? Aren't they competitors? And it's just like, it's like, I mean, this is not who Google used to be. And,
right.
And so that's just frustrating. And one of those things that, I think more people should know what's happening there, because I think Google is the product is great and users are, people still use it heavily. And I think it just they need to rethink their decisions to cut the support of the folks that give them the best feedback. That share, that's their partnership program was always so good for so long. And then just this past year that they just completely overhauled it. And I think that's an area where they're going to lose the ability to innovate as quickly, because they're losing all the feedback that comes with having that many channel partners and people who are that close to their clients, in our industry, the dealerships.
Yeah. Wow.
We understand dealers much more than they do. I mean, as Flex or Union or those of us who live and breathe this industry. I mean, we're much closer. And now their auto industry division has been cut down to bare bones, as opposed to being a much more robust and inquisitive, system just a year and a half ago. I mean, it's kind of sad to see.
What comes to my mind is, especially as humans, we tend to deal in terms of absolutes. Oh, Google, so big, they're absolutely going to be around forever. I don't know that. Facebook, same thing. I don't know that. I mean, look at Kodak, for crying out loud. Look at all of these titans from when we were kids. I know it's sad though, Dave. There's people listening right now being like, what's Kodak? Anyways, but I love what you're saying. The underscore to all of this, the undertone I'm really feeling is something that I applaud you for, because it shouldn't be as hard to come by as it is. And you are gratefully one of the shining beacons in our industry that you said the word actually cares. And we see, and I know you guys have seen, that when you actually care to do the right thing for people, you have deep relationships, there's trust, there's longevity, there's sustained success, and just all of the things that I know matter a lot to you. And so I want to applaud you for that. And, one last question, I'll turn back over to you. How can those listening or watching get in touch with you and learn more about Reunion?
Yeah. Anyone can email me at dave@reunionmarketing.com and then ask questions or reach out and just say hello. Or I'm pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So I think my LinkedIn is just linkedin.com/Dave Spannhake, SPANNHAKE. And I always love chatting. So please reach out.
Love it. Dave, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook Podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always great to catch up.
Hey, thanks for listening to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. If you enjoyed tuning in, please subscribe, share, and hit that like button. You can also join us and the DPB community on social media. Check back next week for a new Dealer Playbook episode. Thanks so much for joining.